Wake up, everybody! It's World War III!
Ah!
Quick, down to the fallout shelter. The bombs are dropping!
The world didn't change overnight. It shifted quietly, piece by piece, until nothing felt stable anymore. In The Simpsons, chaos was always played for laughs. But some of those moments hit a little too close to reality. Now it's 2026, and the patterns are impossible to ignore.
Gung hei fat chai! Americans!
Wars are evolving, power is shifting, and what once looked like satire is starting to feel like something far more serious. The world tilting toward war. It doesn't start with explosions. It starts with tension that never fully goes away. In The Simpsons, one storyline shows the world slipping into chaos. Not instantly, but gradually. Small conflicts grow. Alliances crack. By the time anyone reacts, it's already too late. It felt exaggerated back then. Now it feels a little too familiar. Across the world today, the signs are becoming harder to ignore. The Russia-Ukraine war is still active, and it keeps pulling attention from powerful nations. NATO supports Ukraine with weapons, intelligence, and funding, while Russia continues its offensives, targeting infrastructure and key cities. Each new attack raises the risk of direct confrontation. Then there's the South China Sea. Multiple countries claim parts of it, but China has been expanding its presence, building military bases on artificial islands and sending ships into contested waters. Nearby nations push back, increasing the chance of a sudden clash at sea. At the same time, by 2026, the relationship between the United States and China will keep getting colder. Trade disputes, military drills near Taiwan, and constant shows of force are turning tension into something more serious. One misstep there could pull multiple countries into conflict almost instantly. These aren't separate problems. They connect in ways most people don't see. One shift in one region can trigger reactions somewhere else. That's how things escalate. Military activity is increasing. New weapons are being tested. Drone programs are expanding. Defense budgets keep rising. Quietly, countries are preparing, even if they don't say it out loud. And then there's the part no one wants to face. Nuclear weapons are still there, still part of every major decision behind closed doors. By 2026, the danger isn't just one war. It's everything happening at once. A chain reaction no one fully controls. One mistake turns into another. Alliances lock in. Lines are drawn. Before anyone can slow it down, the conflict spreads beyond its borders, pulling in more countries one after another, driven by alliances, pressure, or fear of being left exposed. What began as a regional issue quickly escalates, drawing in nations whether they want to join or have no choice. It's time for today's topic. The Simpsons has predicted many things, but this one is quite interesting. It wasn't clear where the claim originated, but it suggested that Iran launched multiple large missiles at the US. In the cartoon, it looked like the end of everything. It's most likely just satire, but is it? America on the edge. Satire once laughed at America's chaos, but now it feels almost like a warning. In The Simpsons, the country is torn apart by rogue leaders, rigged elections, and a divided public by 2026. What was one time a joke is inching closer to reality. The 2020 election pushed the system to the breaking point. Accusations flew, riots erupted, and the Capitol itself came under siege. Since then, the political divide has only deepened. Extremist voices are louder, misinformation spreads faster, and trust in democracy is slipping. Heading into 2026, the forecast looks stormy. The aftermath of the 2024 election still lingers, and many Americans feel the system is rigged no matter who wins. Elections no longer feel like civic events. Voter suppression claims, legal battles, and threats of violence have turned them into national crises. Distrust is boiling over. This isn't about angry tweets or social media arguments. It's about real instability. Massive protests, government gridlock, and whispers of authoritarian shifts creeping closer to the surface. If The Simpsons were right, 2026 could be the year a democracy finally snaps. Left versus right no longer defines the struggle. The foundation itself is under strain. Every law, institution, and check and balance is being tested. When cracks widen, they spread quickly, leaving little room for correction. The political storm does not stay contained. Effects ripple outward, destabilizing alliances and amplifying global tensions. Countries observing America respond, miscalculate, or overreach, turning domestic turmoil into international pressure. Markets wobble, alliances strain, and even neutral nations begin choosing sides. Each decision, each escalation, feeds into a growing cycle, while fears of violence and economic collapse spread faster than any leader can control. And before the chaos reaches a peak, the consequences extend beyond borders. The political unrest sets the stage for larger conflicts. The year 2026 looms as a turning point, not just for a single nation, but for the balance of power worldwide, hinting at instability that could pull multiple countries into confrontation and global upheaval. Economic chaos on the horizon. Springfield once spiraled into chaos after a cartoon stock market crash. What felt like satire then now looks frighteningly real. The Simpsons might have just predicted the next global economic disaster, and 2026 could be the breaking point. Inflation continues to rise. National debts are hitting record highs. Governments may act as if everything is stable, but economists are sounding alarms, comparing today's financial climate to the moments right before the 2008 collapse. Tech layoffs pile up, housing prices wobble, and small businesses collapse under relentless pressure. The cost of living tightens like a vice, leaving no room for error. One misstep from a major economy, China, the United States, or the European Union, could trigger a chain reaction that unravels the entire system. The world has never been more connected. A crash in one country doesn't stay contained. Stock markets are global. Supply chains span continents. Panic spreads in seconds. A single domino falling in 2026 won't just shake wallets, it will shake trust itself. When banks freeze, jobs vanish, and savings evaporate overnight, the consequences ripple through society. Public confidence fractures. Governments struggle to respond. Protests erupt. Unrest spreads. What the Simpsons played for laughs becomes a chilling reality. A system designed to protect people proves fragile, and the fallout hits everyone. Then, the unexpected collides with the inevitable. Extreme weather, floods, droughts, and storms disrupt trade, spike prices, and push already fragile economies to the brink. Each shock adds fuel to the fire, creating a world where survival becomes urgent and desperation grows. By 2026, the economic collapse will no longer stay in boardrooms or stock markets. Scarcity, fear, and anger push populations toward confrontation. Trade disputes turn violent. Protests escalate into clashes. Neighboring countries start blaming each other. Alliances fracture under the weight of desperation. And just as The Simpsons predicted, what began as financial chaos spirals into global conflict. Nations fighting, cities burning, and the world at war over resources, power, and survival. Climate chaos unleashed. The planet is rebelling, and nowhere is safe from its fury. Hurricanes rage, snowstorms bury entire towns, and record heat scorches continents. Back then, The Simpsons treated it as absurd fiction. Today, it's uncomfortably close to reality. In just the last few years, more than 1,300 weather-related disasters have struck worldwide. Entire towns burned in wildfires. Cities were swallowed by floods. Heat waves turned Europe, North America, and Asia into ovens. Storms destroyed infrastructure, crops failed, and millions faced displacement. What was once a cartoon exaggeration now reads like news headlines. The trend is only accelerating. The summer of 2023 was one of the hottest ever recorded. Crops failed across continents. Power grids collapsed under excessive demand. Fires, droughts, and flooding left entire communities struggling to survive. Scientists warn this is only the beginning. Rising sea levels, superstorms, and unstoppable droughts are no longer anomalies. They are becoming the new normal. By 2026, coastlines could vanish, cities could face lethal heat waves, and entire regions could become uninhabitable, forcing populations to move in desperation. Insurance companies are already refusing to cover homes in high-risk areas. But when high-risk zones expand to entire regions, the cost of survival becomes universal. The Simpsons once played climate chaos for laughs, but melting glaciers, burning skies, and collapsing ecosystems make those cartoon warnings feel uncannily real. Governments struggle to respond, often too little, too late, while the planet itself grows more hostile. The consequences don't stop at borders. Scarcity of water, food, and habitable land pushes nations into competition. Tensions flare over territory. Trade disputes turn violent. Resources that were once shared or overlooked become flashpoints for conflict. Populations migrate en masse, clashing with established borders. Neighboring nations take sides. Alliances shift. Desperation transforms political friction into military confrontation. By 2026, climate disasters could directly ignite wars. What began as an environmental catastrophe becomes a trigger for global conflict. Just as The Simpsons predicted, extreme weather no longer remains a local problem. It becomes a weapon of survival, forcing nations into confrontation and shaping a world where borders are contested, alliances collapse, and fighting over land, water, and power becomes inevitable. Robots on the battlefield. War is no longer just fought by humans, it is being handed over to machines. The line between soldier and software is fading fast, and by 2026, that line may disappear completely. In The Simpsons, robots taking control once felt like a joke. Now, it feels like a warning. Modern battlefields are already changing. In the Russia-Ukraine war, long-range drones guided by artificial intelligence can locate and strike targets with minimal human input. These machines don't hesitate. They don't get tired. They don't question orders, just execute. Elsewhere, reports suggest AI systems have been used to assist in selecting targets for airstrikes in regions like Syria and Yemen. In conflict zones such as Gaza, algorithms analyze massive amounts of data and flag thousands of individuals as potential threats. Decisions that once relied on human judgment are now reduced to cold calculations. Governments are starting to notice the danger. A United Nations vote in late 2024 showed growing concern over autonomous weapons, often called killer robots. Many countries want strict rules. Others are pushing forward, investing heavily in faster, smarter, and more independent war machines. Meetings are held and agreements are discussed, but the technology keeps moving ahead. By 2026, war could look very different. Swarms of drones may replace troops on the ground. Robotic systems could patrol borders, launch strikes, and defend territories without direct human control. Conflicts may escalate faster, with machines reacting in seconds instead of humans taking hours. One error, one miscalculation, could trigger retaliation before anyone has time to stop it, pulling entire regions into sudden, uncontrollable conflict. The Simpsons showed machines taking over systems that people once controlled. On the battlefield, that idea is no longer fiction. It is becoming a strategy. And when machines start making decisions about who lives and who doesn't, war becomes colder, faster, and far more dangerous. Because once robots take the lead, stopping a conflict may no longer be in human hands. And that is where things begin to spiral. If you've made it this far, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Pandemics and biohazards rising. It starts with a cough and ends with the world shutting down. In The Simpsons, a strange flu sweeps through Springfield after arriving from Osaka, Japan, hidden inside boxes of juicers. One worker coughs into a shipment. Weeks later, the entire town is sick, without any warning or barrier. Just silent spread and sudden chaos. That episode, often called the Osaka flu story, felt absurd at the time, but the way it spreads is simple and terrifyingly real. A virus travels through trade, moves across borders, and reaches homes before anyone even knows it exists. When panic hits, people don't wait. They demand instant cures. In one scene, a desperate crowd smashes open a crate they believe holds medicine, only to release a swarm of killer bees. Panic replaces logic. Fear drives bad decisions. That same pattern showed up during real global outbreaks. Viruses spread through planes and ships. False cures flooded the internet. Health experts fought misinformation as much as the disease itself. What once looked like comedy started to feel uncomfortably familiar. By 2026, the threat has not faded. In 2024 alone, a United Nations report counted at least 17 outbreaks of dangerous diseases, including Marburg, Mpox, and new forms of bird flu. Experts warn that the risk is rising, driven by climate change, war, crowded cities, and rapid travel. The message is clear. The world is still not ready. One of the biggest concerns is the H5N1 bird flu virus. It once stayed mostly in birds. Now it appears in mammals across more than 40 species, from sea lions to foxes. By early 2026, it had even reached penguins in remote parts of Antarctica. When a virus spreads that far, distance no longer protects anyone. New threats continue to emerge. Scientists in Brazil have identified a bat coronavirus similar to viruses that cause deadly lung infections. The World Health Organization has updated its high-risk list and continues to warn about Disease X, an unknown future virus that could spread rapidly and hit hard. And when the next outbreak comes, the danger won't stay contained. Panic spreads faster than infection. borders will be tightened, and supplies will shrink. Nations blame each other, because when fear takes over, outbreaks don't just create a health crisis, they create the conditions for conflict, pushing the world closer to something far more dangerous. The food crisis is coming. A world of gray, flavorless, lab-made meals was once played for laughs in Springfield. It landed as a joke back then. Now it's drifting closer to reality, and by 2026, that punchline could start feeling uncomfortably real and far more serious than anyone expected. Climate change is already attacking the global food supply. Droughts scorch fields. Floods wash away harvests. Wildfires destroy crops before they can be collected. Overpopulation and broken supply chains make the problem worse, creating real scarcity that isn't easy to solve. Scientists and billion-dollar startups are rushing in, pouring money into lab-grown solutions. Synthetic foods, 3D printed meals, and artificial proteins are no longer science fiction. Companies like Beyond Meat and Upside Foods are already putting alternatives into grocery stores and restaurant chains. Some hail them as the future. Others see the death of real food. Lab-grown meat will never taste like a grilled steak. Plant-based burgers cannot replace backyard barbecues. By 2026, fresh vegetables and meat might not be choices. They might become luxuries. Synthetic food could go from optional to mandatory. Farms may shrink. Flavor may disappear. Food could turn into just another technology product, stripped of culture, tradition, and comfort. The Simpsons joked about it. Reality is much less funny, and scarcity always comes with consequences. When people go hungry, tensions rise, communities fracture, protests ignite, governments struggle to feed populations, and trust in leaders erodes. Borders that once held standalone nations together become pressure points. Regions with resources grow aggressive. Countries start competing fiercely for water, arable land, and food supplies. Desperation spreads faster than aid, inflaming anger and fear in every corner of the globe. By 2026, the world could face not just empty plates, but empty promises. Starvation and desperation could push populations toward unrest, and what begins as a local shortage could escalate into clashes between nations. Once again, The Simpsons predicted it, not with humor, but as a warning. The future of food is no longer safe. It is a potential spark for global conflict, a tinderbox ready to ignite, threatening wars that stretch across continents and redraw alliances under pressure. Tech titans on the brink. The digital world is stacked on a fragile tower of tech giants, and one wrong move could bring it all crashing down. Meta, Google, and Amazon dominate every corner of life, controlling data, communication, and commerce. In 2026, their power isn't just impressive, it's dangerous. Behind the glossy headlines, the cracks are widening, and society is closer to collapse than most realize. Behind the glossy PR and innovation hype, cracks are spreading. Meta is drowning in controversy. Google faces lawsuits and antitrust investigations. Amazon, the e-commerce king, struggles with worker strikes, regulators circling, and profits thinning. Public distrust grows every day. People are frustrated by privacy invasions, biased algorithms, and monopolistic control over the internet. Governments worldwide are imposing tighter regulations, especially around AI and data use. One misstep, one failure, could bring down the entire digital empire. These companies are so massive, so deeply woven into global infrastructure, that if one collapses, shockwaves could ripple across the world. Stock markets would dive, currencies would wobble, jobs could vanish overnight. The crypto crash and the Silicon Valley Bank failure were just tremors compared to what could come. When The Simpsons showed a tech company dragging society into chaos, it was more than satire, it was a forecast. By 2026, a single digital domino falling could take the rest of the world with it. Entire economies might stall, supply chains could freeze, communication networks could vanish, governments and citizens would scramble for survival, and competition over technology and critical infrastructure could escalate into conflict. If the internet goes dark, desperation won't wait quietly. Resource disputes, political unrest, and economic panic would flare. Countries dependent on technology could clash over information, trade, and control. The Simpsons predicted it, not as a punchline, but as a warning. The collapse of a tech giant could become the spark that ignites more than economic disaster. By 2026, digital chaos could cascade into global confrontation, with nations fighting over the systems that hold civilization together. The race to Mars begins. The next battlefield might not be on Earth, it might be in space. In The Simpsons, Lisa signs up for a one-way mission to Mars. No return, no backup plan, just a one-way ticket to a new world.
You're going to Mars? That's incredible!
It played out like a joke, with the family rushing to join her. Now, that idea is starting to feel less like comedy and more like a preview. The timeline is no longer distant. SpaceX has been working toward launching its first uncrewed Starship mission to Mars around 2026. This isn't decades away, it's happening now. Engineers have spent years building the technology, waiting for the perfect orbital window when Earth and Mars align. If the launch succeeds, it becomes the first real step toward putting humans on another planet. The idea of leaving Earth behind is no longer fiction. When Mars One was active, more than 20,000 people volunteered for a one-way trip. No return. Just the chance to build something new on a distant world. The mindset is already shifting. People are willing to risk everything for a place that doesn't yet exist. Meanwhile, scientists are preparing for life beyond Earth. In isolated environments like Hawaii and the Arctic, researchers live in sealed habitats, testing survival systems. They grow food in simulated Martian soil. They test 3D printed shelters. Every detail is studied, from air supply to daily survival. Step by step, the impossible is becoming practical. The Simpsons once joked that humans would reach Mars by 2026. That prediction no longer sounds absurd. Technology is catching up. Funding is growing. Plans are turning into action. But when nations and corporations reach Mars, they won't arrive empty-handed. They will bring flags, interests, and competition. Territory, resources, and control will matter. What begins as exploration could quickly turn into rivalry. Because when multiple powers step onto the same red planet, the question won't be who gets there first. It will be who controls it, and how far they are willing to go to keep it. AI takes control. Springfield once fell under the control of artificial intelligence, a cartoon fantasy of robots running everything. Back then, it was absurd. Now, it's creeping closer to reality. AI is everywhere, writing essays, generating art, answering questions, and even running parts of major corporations. Machines are learning faster than humans can keep up, and almost no rules exist to slow them down. Governments lag behind, regulators stumble, and the technology keeps accelerating. The eerie part is how quickly AI is moving from tools to decision makers. Some of the world's top scientists warn that, if unrestrained, AI could begin deciding more than we realize. Not just factory schedules or search engine results, but healthcare diagnoses, financial approvals, legal sentences, and even military operations. Countries are already testing AI-powered weapons. Predictive policing software reinforces bias. Deepfakes blur the line between reality and fabrication. By 2026, AI could be smarter, faster, and fully woven into the systems that run daily life. One algorithm update could decide your loan, your sentence, your medical treatment. Entire economies could be influenced without a single human signature. Elections could be subtly manipulated. The Simpsons joked about robot overlords, but in 2026, that cartoon punchline might feel eerily like a prophecy, and the consequences won't stop there. If AI starts controlling essential systems, scarcity and vulnerability grow. Automated agriculture, logistics, and supply chains could fail at the first glitch or cyber attack. When technology controls food, medicine, and water, desperation spreads. Societies fracture, nations compete for resources, borders turn into battlegrounds. By 2026, AI could become more than a tool. It could become a catalyst for global instability. One miscalculation, one malicious command, one rogue program could ignite crises across continents. The Simpsons made it funny. Reality may make it dangerous. A world where algorithms wield power over human survival might not just feel dystopian. It could spark conflicts between nations, pushing the globe closer to war than anyone ever thought possible. The jokes never stayed jokes. In The Simpsons, chaos always looked absurd until it started playing out for real. Now it's 2026, and the line between satire and reality has vanished. Wars are shifting, machines are rising, and power is being tested everywhere. The warning was always there, hidden in plain sight, and now the consequences are unfolding.